Hello again, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Sid Meier Civilization 5, True Start Location Earth, Numidia. I am your lovely host, Kazia, for today, and I do want to say I am so sorry for the delays in getting this episode published and out there. My Premiere Pro subscription ran out at the worst possible time, and beyond that, I was just taking a break from a lot of video editing because I completed my finals and I just was worn out. With that out of the way, I'm hoping we can get a lot done this episode. As you can see, I've got 30 minutes of footage recorded for this wonderful video, and there are actually no cuts in this footage. There's no break. This is all unadulterated footage, I guess you could say. I don't. Is that the word? I've heard that used before, but I feel like it's wrong. Right? It doesn't sound good. Unadulterated. What the fuck does that mean? Undoctored. That's another way to put it. Right? And for eagle-eyed viewers, you might notice that the game runs a bit slower here than it does for the Great Game. That is because the Great Game is actually running at a faster pace because I doctor it to be a little faster, like for the combat animations and such. That is not anything to do with the game itself. It just has to do with how I edit the videos. Part of the reason I do that is just because, you know, I was getting stuck on a certain scenes with recording narration for the Great Game, which we're going to have another episode out here real soon, hopefully before the end of March. But I typically record a lot of that narration, just sort of trying to time it to myself, figuring out what works, what doesn't. And with a shorter clip length, it just wasn't working out for me, so I had to lengthen the video as a whole. I did that by slowing down the clips. Right? And that especially worked because it gave me more time to discuss certain scenes and look at like city captures more in depth. Anyways, as you can see, we have pissed off Buenos Aires because we've pillaged a lot of their tiles in exchange for gold because we are losing money right now. That's not great, you know. Some would say money is power. I say power is power, but money can contribute to power. Right? It's sort of like a cog in the machine of power. But we want to be powerful, which means we need money. Because this game is based on capitalist society. Capitalism is what everyone hates, but no one wants to get rid of. Like the trash. What topical commentary, you know? I'm in my podcast voice, I'm in my zone. Trying to figure out where to settle next. Well, I already know where I'm gonna settle next with this. I recorded the footage way in advance, but I believe this one goes south of Sicily. And mainly just because I wanted to get those horses on Sicily itself. But we can also see that little one tile island where Malta is. So I guess it's also a bit west of Malta. I gotta remember my cardinal directions, right? Never eat soggy waffles. In any case, I'm getting the hiccups. I'm going to make a quick cut so I don't ruin this audio recording. Also, for those who have been watching my Civilization 7 series, I do want to say, hey, sorry there's no episode this week. There will be an episode next week. Hopefully, at least. I've noticed it's a bit hard to get viewers to that series, and I'll be honest, right? I was really optimistic about Civilization 7 until very recently because they released an update I'm not quite a fan of. I really liked the direction the game was heading, and for some reason they spent a lot of resources and time making things worse because they wanted to appeal to Redditors who never appreciate anything. Like, the game had a really good identity. They're like, what if we, got rid of the part of the game that makes it Civ 7 in order to appeal to people who still think Civilization should be like Civilization 6. Which, I didn't mind. I thought, oh, make it an option, but they did not make it an option in a good way. At least not from what I've seen, right? I don't know if this update has gone out yet, but from what I've heard, from what I've seen, it is not looking great. And it seems a lot of people are catching on to this idea that, oh, hey, maybe, maybe Firaxis were onto something with having the variable leaders, civilizations through different time periods. I wasn't a huge fan of that concept at first, but, it worked. But they tried to rebuild the game, but they didn't do it from the ground up, and it just doesn't work. Right? You would have had to start from scratch for Axis. I'm very sorry to tell you that, but I think Civilization 7 as it is as I recorded, very good game. Right? Not the greatest, not the best, but you should be proud of the work you've done. And especially, like, there's so much I could praise about Civilization 7. Even though, right, I know some of my Civilization 5 fans don't really care for Civilization 7, which it is what it is. We all have our own tastes. Like, I generally prefer Civilization 5 still, even over Civilization 6, which is very popular, and that gets me a lot of flack. Because how dare I hate a game that was not designed to appeal to me? It's almost as if these are two different games in a series, but they don't mesh well together. I wonder if that's a recurring trend with the Civilization series. I wonder if that has any sort of commentary on what has been happening with Civilization 7. I kind of see where I'm going with this. Civilization 5 is a great game, but I'm ultimately very biased. I've grown up playing it. I love this game to death. I've modded it, which you can see Numidia itself. Right here, I designed the civilization. I did the art. I am currently producing the Bazina in Kirta, which is actually the unique building of Numidia, which I coded, I designed, I did the art for, I did everything for the Civ. I did the research. I put so much passion into this. And I was excited to bring that into Civilization 7. I was excited to bring it into Civilization 6 before Civilization 6 came out, and I realized, hey, this kind of sucks to mod. Not to shame anyone who mods Civilization 6. Just for me, I did not enjoy modding Civilization 6. I created one mod for it, and then I was like, okay, that was terrible. And I went back to Civilization 5. Civilization 7 is very similar to her code-wise to Civilization 6 from what I've seen. But it seems like they got a few things improved, or maybe I'm just better at SQL than I was years ago. Right? By the way, I want to bring attention to something very big for modding, actually. One of my friends, Koya, who actually is the showrunner for the Civilization Battle Royale, which inspired the great game, they have been working on a major project for Civilization 5 modders and those looking to get into Civilization 5 modding. They have been creating a library of tools and resources on their own website called, well, I say their own website. It's actually the Civ Modding Central website. Hopefully, it'll launch soon, but from what I have seen, Koyot's work on this project has been phenomenal. Right, and I've been helping them with development and along the way. I helped them with a tool that allows for icon atlas creation. Helped them with what was it that I helped? I mean, I gave them some input just here and there, but I did help them with the. I don't think that's really been teased yet, but they have like this tool where you can design like a checklist for what you need to still develop in a. It's just such a thorough and in-depth tool. I think Koyot is insane for having done this for a game that's over 10 years old, but I also am very much appreciative. I think it's a huge benefit to the community that he has done this. And once that drops, I really hope I can maybe do like some sort of modding tutorial series and just show how much love and appreciation has gone into this game. Because really, all the modders, despite our differences, we all come together and we love this game in one way or another, right? Not everyone loves the game, of course, but I really appreciate that we all have our own way of showing appreciation towards the game, right? I think some of my favorite modders are people who I would wildly disagree with, in many different ways, right? Like, when you get into a historical game, franchise, whatever, or sort of historical fiction and such, you run into people of many different political opinions, and you're not always going to get along with them. Happens to the best of us. But I respect that, you know? Unless they're fascist, in which case I don't respect that. That's where I draw the line. I respect, you know? You're not due respect for having a different opinion, and if your opinion is that I should be genocided, you know, that's kind of where that's my line in the sand. You know, I'm not crossing that. You shouldn't cross. I mean, you probably should cross that. You should stop being a fascist, because that kind of sucks if you are one. You know? I'm not hiding it anymore. Fuck fascism. I hate fascism. You know what I love, though? One Piece live action season 2. This is completely unrelated to fascism. It's kind of like the opposite, I guess, but it's also like a Netflix series, which kind of, But I'm gonna get into a really nerdy subject. Right? I read the One Piece manga up to date when it was in the Wano arc, and I've read up to El Path. But I did all that in like 1 month, which was the most embarrassing, humiliating experience I've gone through. But yes, I read One Piece up to date, and I don't think it's a great manga. I gotta be honest, right? First half of the manga, phenomenal through and through. Second half, I could not give two shits about it. And I can tell you exactly why, right? Eiichiro Oda, great artist, but they got too uppity, right? They got too into their own mindset. They draw these amazing scenes, but you can't tell what's going on in them. The characters have not developed since the beginning of the time skip. They just grew more powerful There were many decisions regarding things like Monkey D. Luffy. I don't get why certain decisions he made happened. I'm not gonna spoil it for everyone else, but I was not a huge fan. But a lot of these can be traced back to flaws in the first half of One Piece. The live action, through some ungodly way, has mended some of these flaws by just rewriting things a little bit. And it's not in a disrespectful rewrite way, right? It's still very much an homage to the original series. But it's like, Sanji is not a pervert, he's a womanizer. Which, they're basically the same thing, but at least it's not as creepy as it was in the manga. Usopp's a coward, but at least he actually does things in combat now. And for what it's worth, all the actors have brought their A game to Season 2. I wasn't a huge fan of Makenyu during Season 1. You know, he seemed a bit stiff to me. Season 2, he brought his A game. He lives up to the role now of Zoro, right? I say that because I just realized I call him Makenyu. This is the actor's name. And I believe, fun fact, he's actually the son of the actor who played Hattori Hanzo in Kill Bill. Which, I believe that's correct. Don't quote me on that if it's wrong. Actually, quote me on that if it's wrong. Call me out on my bullshit if I'm wrong. I make mistakes too. We all make mistakes. Call me out on it, but be respectful about it, right? Sorry if I'm a bit quiet, by the way. I just want to be clear. I am recording this late at night, and I don't want to wake up the people who have moved back into the dorms as we approach the middle part of spring break, which is weird. The latter half of spring break, right? Anyways, with my great efforts, we have completed our first Bazina, which that's Sheldon's catchphrase on the Big Bang Theorem. We settled the city of Iol, and we rambled through a bunch of One Piece Season 2 review. Yeah, I mean, One Piece Season 2, it is what it is. It's a great show. I highly recommend. If you're not a fan, don't watch it. Simple as that. I personally, it's not my favorite manga, it's not my favorite anything, anime or whatever. I did not even watch the anime, I gotta be honest. But my favorite anime, oh boy, we're getting into the hot stuff, right? We're getting into the juicy bits, the meat. I'm a huge fan of Fate Stay Night. Not the Dean animation, because I know people are gonna be like, oh, you like the Dean animation. No, I read the original visual novel before it got an official English translation. Motherfucker, I know my shit. And I love it. It's so good. It's so good. It's so bad, but it's so good. I say it's so bad. It's actually really well written. Right, Kanoko Nasu is a world-building genius. I don't think his prose is amazing, but it's far better than a lot of what I've read in translations, except for the sex scenes. Of course, if he writes a sex scene, he hates it. Notably, at least that's sort of the rumor, right? He hates writing sex scenes, so he just writes the worst sex scenes imaginable as part of his contract requirements until they got him to stop writing sex scenes because people were like, hey, these words don't go together. This is in fact a heretical, this is a sin you've put on the Japanese language, and the English language for that matter, because there was an English translation. I did the Real Tanua patch, which had these sex scenes involved, which I don't know if the official translation still includes them. You can get it on Steam now.
but I don't think it has the sex scenes anymore. Which I'm honestly kind of mixed on. Because yes, they were poorly written. But they also had a lot of character development in them in a weird way. But like, it wasn't I gotta go through the full official translation at some point, because I've only really gone through the Real Tonua translation. My favorite Fate Servant, for those who don't know, the Fate Stay Night series is about historical figures fighting one another. Sound familiar? Anyways, historical and mythical figures, let's face it, King Arthur, Heracles did not exist, but they were in the first series. Gilgamesh did exist. Kukulin, I don't fucking know if Kukulin existed. Dude, probably not. Numidia didn't exist. Sasuke Gojo got retconned out of existence by Fate Stay Night. I don't know what the fuck that's about, but okay. Because he's a real figure, but he's not real in Fate canon, which is weird. Except for he is real, but he's just based on multiple different figures who went by the name Sasuke Gojo. What the fuck is with this story? Sasuke Gojo got retconned out of existence. Gilgamesh is real. I'm standing by that, right? He's not as described in the Epic of Gilgamesh, but we have proof and documentation that he is real. The real question: what about Hassan-i-Sabah? Ooh, Hassan-i-Sabah is real, but that Hassan-i-Sabah is not real. In fact, I believe he's actually the Hassan-i-Sabah who fought against Richard the Lionheart, who is his own servant now. But I'm going to have to check. Yeah, because that was the Son of the Cursed Arm. And from what we've seen with Fate Grand Order's Camelot arc, the Son of the Cursed Arm was originally from that time period where Richard the Lionheart was crusading. And that makes me think. I have to pull up the actual name of this figure, but there was a notable assassin at this time that he might have been based off of, which, like Hassan-i-Sabah, of course, the actual Hassan-i-Sabah is a real person. Don't get me wrong, but where? Let me double check. I gotta find the exact. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of this, but let's see if I can find. Alright. Okay, no, I am going through all of this because we're talking about Fate Stay Night lore. I gotta keep up with my Fate Stay Night lore stuff. I think it's Rashid Adin Isnan. Oh, but no, he had the Son of the Cursed Arm had his own name. What was it? The Son of the... See, I know my shit about Fate Stay Night lore. I played through Fate Grand Order despite everything about Fate Grand Order, which is just mainly that it sucks. Let's see. Hanam, okay. Hanam, yeah, he's not real. But that was the original Hassan-i-Sabah that we saw in Fate Stay Night. Son of the Cursed Arm. Not real, sorry to say. Hassan-i-Sabah was real, but that one, not. Also, it's kind of bullshit how the Grand Hassan is just the guy who founded the Assassins. I mean, yeah, of course, it's Hassan-i-Sabah. Like, we get it. But come on.
You could have been a little more creative, right? What was I saying? We were playing Civilization. I got so fucking distracted about... See, this is my special interest. I love the Fate series. I love it to death. I highly recommend it for people who are insane and batshit like I am. Which I've convinced several people to actually sit down, watch the series, and they're like, okay, this is good, or this is boring as fuck. How the fuck do you get through all this exposition? And I'm like, yes, I love it. Give me more Knokunasu. And typically I have them watch from Fate Zero, but once we get an actual Fate route adaptation by a studio that isn't Dean, I will be so very happy. Though I could also start them with and Fate Zero is probably the best to describe the concept, honestly. It has a great exposition, and I mean, Unlimited Blade Works is really another great start. Okay, I always recommend the visual novel first, but like not everyone's going to watch a visual novel or read a visual novel, whatever. But get them to watch an anime, ooh, they'll sit down for at least an hour of exposition in Fate Zero Episode 1 before they try to strangle me with their bare hands as I get hyped as fuck over Alexander the Great. He was so good. I mean, my favorite server, by the way. Not from a great Fate series, they're from Fate Apocrypha. I love Mordred, but that series was not great. Mordred was just a very great character arc within that series. Really? I have no idea what the fuck was up with Fate Apocrypha. They had so many things going for it. Literally, you could have tied all the characters together based on the idea of fucking thing, created life. Homunculi, golems. You got Mordred, you got Frankenstein, you got fucking Avacavron. You had it in the bag. And what did they do? They fucked it up. They fucked it up. I don't know why they didn't even run with that storyline. And like, the main character, Sieg, he is also a homunculus. He should have had some part in the story. There was so much going on for this. And they didn't run with it. They didn't run with it. And it pissed me off. Of course, Mordred was a great character on her own. She had a fully fleshed arc. But then everyone else got the leftovers. It just wasn't great. Actually, I liked Achilles as well. Oh. And I hate Jack the Ripper's design in Apocrypha. Everyone does. Except those people. You know, the pedophiles. But at least we got the retcon out of it. Which the retcon from Fate Strange Fake, which is currently airing, is phenomenal. Regardless, I have rambled on about Fate for about 18 minutes now. No, that is not true. But I have been rambling on about it for quite a while, and we are getting close to the end of the episode. Yeah, we only have about 4 more minutes, I think. So I'm going to want to summarize what we actually accomplished within the game. We settled the city of Iol. That's all we accomplished in the game this far. I mean, we built a Bazina. That's pretty good. It's a caravanserai replacement. Nothing too much more to say there. I mean, it's very useful later on. Right now, we're not going to get much use out of it, but we need to build them now so we don't forget about them later on. As you can see, I'm just sort of checking the stats, just looking through all this. And you can just sort of take a look, see how we're placing. We're not doing too great. We gotta fix that real soon. Real shit, I'm very tempted to do a Fate fucking remaster or stream just the full game over the weekend, and on April Fool's Day
with maybe me and a couple friends. What the fuck? We met in the Marlock of the Murrenpata? I didn't realize we met him already. I missed that entirely. I was distracted by my immense love of Fate Stay Night. That's not something to brag about. That's not. Murrenpata, by the way, is another civilization I designed. Marlock is a historical figure. He was a warrior of the Murrenpata, and he led a group of we'll call bandits. But more specifically, they were anti-colonial resistance fighters who just happened to be on the wrong side of Australian colonial law. And they killed fishermen who, guess what? They got caught abusing Murrenpata woman. And so you know what? I think that's pretty fucking based of them. So yeah. I think, if you're a colonialist, when you go around being a piece of shit, you get what it's coming to you. You fuck around, you find out. They fucked around, they found it out. That's not how English works, but it's okay. I am very tired. It is midnight. It is I almost said the 3rd of March. That is not even close to what day it is at this point. Regardless. My name is Kazia. Thank you so much for joining me on this wonderful episode of Fate Stay Night of my Fate Stay Nights review series. If you want to see more of this bullshittery content, please be sure to leave a like, a comment, and subscribe down below. With all that out of the way, we're going to continue as much as we can before I eventually fade off into the distance. Nah, I'm not going to do that. Not yet. I think we still got about a minute. Right? So, how's your day going? It's very hard to end these videos sometimes. Right? I have to watch the time, watch what I'm saying, make sure I cut it down to the right time. And oh fuck, we're running out of time. Quick, say something funny. Panic. Okay, never mind. With all that out of the way, see you guys next time. Kazia, signing off. Bye-bye.